volunteer board of directors, and we go out and we decide what organizations we want to give to and support. And DoS Security is certainly one of the ones that we feel very strongly about. So Kajal has a question. She's graduating in cybersecurity. Any security engineering roles focused on cloud and apps? So the answer is yes, ongoing. And the reason I say yes, ongoing is our positions, they shift around a little bit as far as what we have open at the time. I know in InfoSec, on AppSec, we have had roles in the past. I don't think we have anything right now, but I would still highly encourage you to send in a copy of your background, your resume, because positions come open, and we're really committed to this organization, to DoS Security, and even looking at creating roles for individuals, because we really believe in the way folks get started is that someone just provides an opportunity. So Kajal, I would highly recommend that you send us over a copy of your background. In the jobs section of the DoS Security website, you will see lookouts, job postings for internship roles, entry-level roles, and feel free to apply there. And we'll be happy to get back to you. So, we love to have people that it's their first time coming to DoS Security. It's really exciting. And for those of you that are here for the first time, please take a risk and network. Even if you're uncomfortable with it, just do a stretch. There is a networking tab and the DoS Security homepage that you will see, actually a little icon on the left-hand side of your screen. What will happen is you'll click on that icon and you will automatically be connected to another individual at DoS Security, where you can just get to know an individual. And it's a really great way to have that warm introduction into meeting someone new. So I highly recommend that you do that. Once again, we are going to be having Day in the Life series at Lookout, starting in about 8 minutes. But much more importantly than that, we're going to have a contest. We're going to give away a pair of AirPods. We're going to do that a couple of times in the next hour. And we'll give instructions on how you apply for to win those AirPods. And that will happen in about 8 minutes. So if there are any other questions or topics I can answer from the chat, please feel free to enter those in. After our Day of the Life series that ends at 1, we are going to have a session that will be Deidre, who is another co-founder of DoS Security, myself, and we're going to be moderated by Jan, who is our executive advisor for our Lookout Foundation. And we are going to talk about kind of behind the scenes of what recruiters don't tell you, how to land your dream job. We're going to take you through from the point of how do I even find a job? Where do I look for job postings? How do I build my resume? Like, what should I say? What should I not say? When I have a phone screen, what in the world do I do, right? How do I get myself out of sticky situations? How do I do follow-up? All the way through to the offer stage, right? What happens when they say, what are you interested in? What's your compensation expectations? How do you answer that kind of question? How do you negotiate the best possible offer, right? And what are the things that corporate recruiters keep in their back pocket of areas that you can leverage, and some areas that no matter how hard you'll try, recruiters probably won't budge. And I can explain those tips and tricks. It starts at 1 o'clock on our main stage, and I hope you all can join. So once again, in about 6 minutes, we will start our Day in the Life series. And then 1 o'clock, we will have our Landing Your Dream Job and What Recruiters Don't Tell You. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And Happy to answer them. Caitlin is a member of our team. You'll see her name in the chat. She is part of our HR family, and she just had the most beautiful baby you'll ever see. In our earlier session, about 9:30, we were in the Lookout booth, and I showed a gorgeous picture of her gorgeous baby. And we actually, a bunch of us in the booth were just laughing. And it kind of tells you a little bit about our culture. We're all really close. We all really support each other. I think that people who join the Lookout family really feel like it's a family. It's very compelling work. It's an exciting environment. It's an exciting field. And it's working with the best of the best. So yet another shameless plug for you guys to consider working at Lookout. And I wouldn't do my day job being the head of recruiting if I didn't plug for that. Okay, there's an announcement in about 5 minutes. They're asking folks to go to the sponsor booths, but guess what? They're already here. So please stay tuned for a talk about day in the life. And that will be interactive. We would welcome any questions that you may have. We'll be answering them throughout the presentation. And 4 individuals will be talking about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes each, talking about what it's like to work at Lookout in their particular role. And oh, did I remind you, top of the hour, we're going to do a contest for free AirPods, and more information on that to follow. Okay, so I am going to go off camera for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee and get ready for our 1 o'clock showing of Day in the Life. We'll see you really soon. Everybody, I am back. It is, I'm Brandley Brotman, the head of global recruiting and the chair of our Lookout Foundation. I am delighted to see all of you today. And Christina, what an incredible session you just gave.
Oh, thanks.
I listened to you talk for hours. Every time you can talk, it is so compelling and helpful and engaging and interesting. I'm getting text messages right now from everyone at Lookout that's just congratulating you. It's a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, before we get started, I know many of you are interested in the fact that we are having a contest that you can win AirPods. And there's a Google form below that you can fill out if you're interested in a pair of AirPods. And yes, they will be the new ones. And we hope that you enjoy and win. And a shameless plug for all of you interested in an opportunity at Lookout, please go to the jobs board of DoS Security. And we have entry-level roles, we have internship roles, we have roles in every one of our departments. So we would love for you to apply. Okay, let's get started. So Christina, let's pretend that we haven't worked together for years. So for the purposes of this audience, why don't you tell us your name and your job title?
Sure. So my name is Christina Balaam, and my job title is technically Staff Security Intelligence Engineer, which is a fancy way of saying that I'm on our threat intelligence team doing malware research.
Oh, okay. So the title that she just gave you, she's being very shy. She's one of the head honchos and top researchers in the company. So she won't say that, but I can shamelessly plug that. So tell me about what your job involves.
Sure. So on our threat intelligence team, our kind of directive is focused on tracking what are called advanced persistent threats. So these are some of the more sophisticated threats that tend to be tied to cyber criminal organizations or nation state actors that have persisted for, sometimes years at a time. And our team looks for these sorts of threats, especially in the context of mobile security, and we track them. We try and understand what these campaigns are trying to accomplish, who they're trying to conduct surveillance on, and then we write up reports both publicly and for our customers to let them know about these threats, the fact that they exist.
It feels like a whack-a-mole game, like it's a constant digging, right, to find the
Yes.
information. So if we drill down a little bit deeper, tell me about what a typical day is like. What did you do last Thursday?
Sure. So last Thursday, I was threat hunting. And threat hunting typically involves looking through Lookout's massive data set for interesting indicators that something might be malicious. So this might be, for example, Lookout does a lot of research on Uyghur targeting surveillance campaigns. So these could be things like apps that are specifically targeting people that speak Uyghur, that would be part of different ethnic minority groups that would be targeted by a particular threat actor that we care about, and looking at the apps that come back from these search queries and deciding, okay, is this malicious? Is this part of a bigger campaign? What can we do with this information? So that's what last Thursday looked like, was looking for a lot of those sorts of indicators within Lookout, as well as through some external repositories, and like even, you know, on Twitter and stuff, sometimes you'll have people sharing tweets that are like, hey, download this super secure version of Telegram and it'll be way safer, and it's malware.
All of us are sitting here like, that is so cool, the work that you do. I mean, it just sounds like, yeah, I'm just going to fight, you know, bad actors and that for nation states that are being targeted. I mean, honestly, so what is the hardest part about the work that you do?
Ooh, for me, by far the hardest part is just not always getting all the answers. So sometimes you could be spending like literal days on a particular problem and not necessarily find an answer about who is being targeted by a campaign or why they're doing this campaign, or, you know, your tracking infrastructure. So let's say you have a surveillance application on a phone and it's exfiltrating, you know, content like your photos and your text messages to some third-party server that's being controlled by some bad guy. Not being able to actually look at that server, like you can't like log in with passwords and stuff. That's very illegal. So sometimes threat actors leave stuff wide open. Sometimes they don't. And so not being able to get all the pieces of the puzzle to say, hey, this is the full story, go forth and protect yourself, can be really frustrating.
Yeah. Tell me about the most enjoying part. Like, tell me about a recent win that you had that perhaps the rest of the company doesn't know about. Don't share any secret sauce, but tell me about what's really enjoyable for you.
So, so I actually can't talk about this because
I love it.
It's not public.
She's the coolest job. She can't talk about it. It's so cool.
But
Yeah.
It was a situation where I found other pieces to the puzzle, and was able to like present a full picture to a story that we might not have had in previous investigations. And for me, that felt like a big win, because it was a development in my threat hunting capabilities. It was learning about new technology and like ways of kind of tracking threat actors that I hadn't really experienced before. And it felt really good because it was a campaign I cared about, and we were able to like share information that would help people better secure whoever was being targeted. So
That's incredible.
that felt like a big win.
No, that's incredible, right? Last Thursday, I probably made pancakes, and you were out there helping people in the most significant way. And I know you're being very thoughtful about how you're explaining it, but putting together those pieces of the puzzle impacts millions of people. So thank you for being so humble, but the work you do is so critical. So can we back up a little bit, and can you tell me about how you got started, like undergrad?
Sure.
How did you end up where you are today?
Yeah, so I've always loved computers. I started learning to program when I was like 8 or 9, but at that point, like Y2K, nobody said computer science was a thing you could do. Like I had one advisor be like, don't go into computer science. It's like a glorified math degree. You'll never do anything that you'll make money at. So I was like, oh, I don't really know where to go. So I also really loved political science and writing. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll become a lawyer and study international law and like work with the UN or something. And so I ended up going to university for that, into my second year, when I took a computer science class as an elective and realized, oh, wait, no, I can actually build programs and work with computers in a way that's practical and useful. Right. And so I transitioned from there. But it wasn't until after I graduated and was working as a software engineer, kind of more of a general software engineer for a while, that I came to a day of security that was at the Lookout Toronto office in 2018.
Stop it.
Yes.
Security.
I know.
Go on.
And I met some of our amazing researchers who were talking about campaigns like, what our team currently does and everything that was involved in it. And I realized, oh, okay, so I had been working in application security at that point in mobile, but not in the malware space.
Yeah.
And so hearing that I could do malware research tied to geopolitical issues and like merging these two areas that I was always really passionate about, computers with geopolitics, was just really, really exciting. So yeah, after that, I kind of got recruited, and 4 years later-ish, here I am.
I mean, come on, computers with geopolitics. Hello. The fact that your vernacular uses the word geopolitics is so cool. Once again, it's
I agree.
pancakes, which is really cool. So I've been chatting with folks all morning about folks that want to break into the area of cybersecurity, folks that perhaps went through a boot camp or an undergrad, or individuals that might be developers, were pretty advanced in their career, and they want to make the pivot. Let's start out with the folks that are just coming out of a boot camp or out of school, and they just don't know where to start, and everything looks really ominous. What advice would you have for them?
So my advice there is kind of twofold. So the first thing is to not hold yourself back from applying for positions because you don't meet like 10 out of 10 of the listed criteria on the listing. There's been some like studies and stuff that show that people who identify as women tend to do that more than people who identify as men. So that's just like, don't limit yourself necessarily. You bring something to the table that other people likely don't bring. And so that's just one thing to keep in mind. The second thing that I found really helpful for me, even transitioning from like a security engineer into a cybersecurity role, and I think this is applicable to anybody just interested in cybersecurity, is having like kind of a portfolio of sorts. So I'm not saying you have to spend like every waking moment doing this, because I don't think that's healthy, but like if you're really passionate about something, like you're really passionate about mobile research, it could be walking through the like mobile research reverse engineering component of something like a capture the flag activity. And even if you're not winning or you're not like on a team, just like documenting the steps and like the thoughts you had and the approach you took to solving that problem, and something that other people can read, whether it's like a blog or even just like a Word doc or something like that. I've been involved with hiring at different companies, and we've always really loved seeing people who could convey their approach to a problem and that they were really excited about that problem and solving it in a way that we could kind of see them work through the process. So
that's really interesting. So what you're talking about is start to learn, start to uncover, be really curious, and talk about it, and talk about how you got there. And it's not as critical that you've had 15 years of experience in the space, but that you took the initiative to learn about something and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how about networking? What has been your most effective advice on networking? Because even though you went to the Day of Security event in Toronto, that takes courage, right? It's hard to go into a room where you don't know anyone face to face. So tell me a little bit about what your secret sauce is in networking.
Sure. It's been tough because COVID, it's not always the same experience when you can't necessarily get into a room with people all the time. But events like this, any event that you can get to, whether it's virtual or in person, I think it's really worth reaching out to people that are giving talks that resonate with you. And even just like asking for advice or kind of initiating some kind of relationship. It feels really intimidating. Quite frankly, I'm a very introverted person. I'm pretty shy. And so going into a conference, especially like by myself, and reaching out to somebody or stopping after talking, being like, hey, I really like that. Can I pick your brain about this issue? Took a lot of work. But those relationships led to other opportunities to go to, other conferences. I ended up at Black Hoodie because of the connections I made at another conference. And like all of these things kind of add up, and they help you find footing in an industry that can kind of feel really isolating, especially if you're, in a room with people who don't really look like you.
And it's amazing, Christina, and this is going to be a direct plug because I mean it. It is incredible how many women we have in your space. I mean,
Yeah.
it is, at one point it was, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is a trend. And now it's our secret powers. I mean, your group is primarily women. What do you attribute that to? Why do you think it's an area that so many women like to get into and are very good at?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like it's these different perspectives that help kind of formulate a story around. In my case, it's like different campaigns and stuff. But I feel like we tend to kind of bring a different perspective or a different approach to handling threat actors, or maybe looking at the problem or looking at places they might be hiding in ways that differ from predominantly male groups who have maybe been looking at things from a very similar perspective. I think that's a huge contributing factor. At Lookout, I think we're really lucky in that we have an organization that just fosters women's development as well. Like that, I think, is really important in attracting talent and people from diverse backgrounds. So for us here, I think that's been hugely influential and helpful as well.
Yeah. People are putting in the Slack channel, the chat channel, and texting me, "You're our hero." So, Christina, thank you so much for taking time today. We really enjoy it. And if those of you would like to reach out to Christina, I'm sure she would be happy to connect. You can find her on LinkedIn. And Christina, thank you again.
Thanks so much. It's great talking to you. See you later. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. And so I'm sorry, everybody, I did not do a great job at looking at the chat while I was chatting. So I will do a better job at that. Please do not hesitate to put your questions in the chat and I will answer them for you. Alina, welcome.
Hi.
So excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to get started. I know I'm running a little bit late, but we have plenty of time for your piece. Tell me about who you are and your job title and how long you've been at Lookout.
Right, yeah, so my name is Alina. I'm a security intelligence researcher on the apps team. I've been at Lookout since mid-February. Yeah, and I was actually hired through this event.
Woohoo! Shameless plug. Yay! I was hired through this event. And I remember you in the chat. I remember how engaged you were. I remember how curious you were. It was incredible. And so you are a true testament that we mean what we say in the day of security. We're here to promote women, provide opportunities, etc. So tell me a little bit, you've been on board with us a short window, but tell me a little bit about what your job involves right now.
Right, so I'm on the apps team, and our job is to analyze and detect malicious applications for both Android and iOS. And then so my job involves investigating potential threats and determining whether they actually are malicious. We do this by reverse engineering applications, determining their capabilities and functions, and then identifying key malicious behavior that we can then record into our database, and we can use to find more threats and identify more of these threats.
So cool. So let's go a little deeper. What did last Thursday look like for you? What do you do on a typical day?
So usually I review the backlog, and we have a lot of incoming data from all over the place. So one of my jobs is to triage that data for one of the feeds to see if there's anything interesting that we should maybe think about covering. And then usually, since I'm still fairly new, I'll take one or two apps and I'll reverse those, analyze those, write down anything interesting, record anything interesting I find. And then usually I'm on a research project right now. So in the afternoon, I was kind of working on that for a little bit. And then because I'm on the research team, there's a lot of meetings where people like to share information. So I had a meeting or two, someone wanting to share either a research project they've been working on or something new, a new skill they've learned that can help us improve our research.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And tell me about the hardest part about your role right now, because you're obviously in a big learning curve. What has been difficult for you?
I think the most difficult thing, so my background is, I'm a computer engineer, and my previous role was a software developer, backend engineer. So I think I had a lot of instincts for that. So the hardest part has been developing those instincts
Yeah.
and learning what's important, what's not important, where to stop, where to keep going, like where to pivot. Those type of instincts.
Yeah.
I think has been the most challenging thing for me so far.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit more about your journey? So tell us all the way back as far as you'd like to go, education or boot camp. Tell us about how you arrived in this particular area. Any more details you could provide?
Yeah, so my background, so I graduated from university with a degree in computer engineering. And then I worked for a little bit. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I worked for a little bit as, like I said, like a software developer. I was working in e-commerce.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was kind of exposed to logging and like incident response.
Ah.
And so then I kind of got interested in security a little bit. And I actually attended the Day of Security before, so not last October, but the March before.
Stop it, shameless plug. Stop it. See this
Yeah,
thing
I
work.
did. And I ended up doing a workshop with I think it was Boston Cybernetics Institute on reverse engineering. Because originally I thought I was going to be interested in more like policy or something like that. Yeah. So then I did that and I learned, okay, wait, I actually really do like this. I do like the more technical side, the reversing part of it, the analyzing. And then I ended up at Day of Security in the fall. And then I ended up here.
Got it. And so in the last few months that you've been on board, and the fact that you've told everyone this is your favorite company and your favorite job ever, what is most enjoyable about your work?
I think the thing because I've been new, the team has been really welcoming. It's a research team, so everyone's kind of very willing to answer your questions, teach you something you don't know, and there's like a high level of respect, which I think like coming into it, I was very nervous because I was very new and I was like new to the industry too. So there's a high level of respect between everyone and the perspectives they bring and the information they're able to find. So that was really nice. And then also the real world impact. Like when we're analyzing these applications, some of them can be like live on the Play Store or like iOS. And so like when we go through and we convict them, like the results, like you can see them right away.
Yeah, it's true. It's incredible work. Advice that you would give either A, for someone that is looking for a career change, using the example of they were in accounting and they find this field really interesting, so they'd like to do a pivot. Folks that are, maybe they went through a boot camp. What advice would you give those individuals about how they start?
Yeah. I think the first thing is definitely like attending like events like this, like getting out there, like networking, like talking to people. Because I think sometimes you have an idea of maybe what you want to do, and then you talk to more people and you discover that maybe there's something else that would fit me better or that would be more interesting. Yeah. And then also there's a lot of like resources out there. Like I had a background, like I had a technical background, but so some of my skills translated, but a lot of other ones didn't. So there's a lot of things out there like I was doing. There's like Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, like Crack Me, like all kinds of stuff like that you can do. And there's a lot of resources on YouTube as well. Like people, I think the industry I thought at first was very like closed off. But my experience like being in it so far is that there's actually a lot of information out there and people are really willing to share this information. Yeah, it's so true. I think you really identified it. I think people are refreshingly very open, refreshingly very approachable, very authentic in the field. I mean, incredibly so at Lookout. I mean, it bar none. But in the industry, people are really terrific, and it takes courage to know how to get started or how to pivot, right? How to show up and have those conversations, because that's tough. It's a really tough thing to do. No, for sure, yeah. So any particular tips that you learned in getting the right opportunity? Anything else, advice that you would give to others in addition to research? Yeah, I think I would say like, I know I could like to go for it because sometimes Because sometimes, like, you never know what's going to happen or what people are going to say, or like the other person on the other side. I think especially like during, like, after these, like, the last 2 years, like, advocating for yourself is like something really important, and it's like a skill that, like, I know it can be intimidating at first, but once you start doing it, like, slowly, like baby steps, like maybe you message one person and then you message another person, and you go out and like you start messaging other people. Like, it's something that can be learned.
Yeah, you kind of build on it. And, you know, the Day of Security has a great tool in the platform on the left side called networking. And literally you just tap on it and automatically you'll be connected to someone for 3 minutes. And I've bounced around in there. It's great. You know, people are really eager to connect. I think just taking that first step, as you mentioned, goes a long way, because in this field, people are by definition curious. They are interested, they're engaging. And so going to events like this, keeping yourself really curious and having the network out there, it is really important. So any questions in the chat? Maya brought up a really good point. She said she could always appreciate when people talk about changing course on their journey. Before networking as much as I do, the people I met originally seemed so sure of exactly what they wanted the whole time. And what's amazing, Maya, is as you get to know individuals, we all had a very shaky start, right? We all start out the same way, even going from job to job. It's difficult, right? You kind of learn as you go. And what I can tell you is the networking piece is so important, because people fundamentally want to work with people that they enjoy and that are smart and committed and proactive. And the things that Alina is mentioning, you know, to get out there and just start to be curious and use that curiosity to start conversations is so important. So Alina, I thank you so much for your time today. Why don't you stay on, because I'm going to announce the winner of our first round of AirPods.
Ooh, exciting.
Okay, right? I know. Watch, I'm like, oh, it's you. No, it's not. Sorry. You do not win it. Sorry, you don't get to win the AirPods. Hold on. We are doing a drawing. Okay. All right, we actually are going to do it in just a moment. I heard back from the superiors that we're not quite ready yet. Please do fill out the form. We will continue to do drawings, and more information will come in after my next session. So those of you that are still watching, hang in there. We'll do the drawing after our next session. So Alina, thank you. I appreciate the time. And for those of you All right, we are going to get started in just a moment with our next individual. Maya, you're like professional speed dating. Oh yeah, I could do this for hours. I love this stuff. You could tell I'm the head of recruiting, because this is where it's fun. Oh, and do I ever enjoy working with the next person. So hello, Kimberly.
Hello. I apologize, my background doesn't show up, but my computer actually doesn't have the configurations to do the background.
Of course, because you're probably one of our zero folks, like I am. The swing, we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good to see you. I'm sorry, my heart's just singing to see you, Miss Brindley.
I really enjoy seeing you. So the 31 of you that are on the call right now, if you could just hang out, Kimberly and I would like to reconnect. Kimberly, could you tell us your name and what your job title is here at Lookout?
Sure. So my name is Kimberly Snow, and I'm the Senior Director of Compliance here for Lookout. And I have actually been here almost 4.5 years. I joined in December of 2017.
4.5 years of the best job you've ever had.
Right?
People, especially ever worked with. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit more about your job and what it involves.
So my job is kind of like all of the bits of the organization from a compliance perspective. So, and it touches upon, I'm so glad I was able to join today and pay attention to most of the conference, because we're talking about all the things that my team does. So we do everything from our certifications around frameworks, because there was something about the NIST framework that I caught a little bit of that. Also making sure that we have appropriate technical measures in place to secure our customers, to secure our organization, and as well as working across the organization to make sure that we're meeting customer needs as well as internal employee needs. So I feel like I have my fingers in everything on any given day.
Yeah. Tell us more about the other things that your team does. There was this little thing called FedRAMP that your team got involved with. So tell me more about the roles on your group. What do they do?
Sure. Right. So now I'm a team of two. At one point, I was a team of two, then I was a team of one, and now I'm a team of two again. I have a compliance administrator. Her name is Eileen. And administrator does not necessarily even describe all of the amazing things that she does. And one of the things that we do is make sure that from a requirements perspective for customers, so the federal government is our customer, that we are meeting their certification requirements. So we went through FedRAMP certification 3.5 years ago-ish. We just came through our final surveillance audit for this round. And, I think there were 314 controls that we had to meet, hundreds of pieces of evidence to prove that we meet their standards, interviews. I think we have 17 policies and probably 23 to 30 procedures to support the government, and working closely with them on a weekly basis to make sure that we are satisfying things like continuous monitoring, which involve vulnerability scanning, vulnerability resolution, communications, and making sure that as the government comes out with deeper standards around security, that we are either meeting them or exceeding them. So it's a big job. I do coordinate a lot with a matrix team with engineering, IT, security, human resources, product. Pretty much everybody is involved in that program, and we meet constantly. And it's good though, because I think it's a good team building exercise internally. It keeps a focus on compliance, and it keeps a focus on internal security as well.
Yeah, for sure. Hardest part about your job
is probably when we need to make any technical changes to have them put in queue and be addressed, because our customer comes first. And sometimes if there's technical debt that we need to resolve, just making sure that we can balance those two things out. Honestly, here at Lookout, that's an easier job than it's been in other places, because we do have full executive buy-in for these programs. And it's a key component.
Which is rare, absolutely. Which is
not
rare.
Going to succeed if you don't have support from on high.
Absolutely. Most enjoyable thing. But I know this is your best job ever, so tell me what's so enjoyable about it.
It's the people. Honestly, I took this job at Lookout because when I went through the interview process, they were the nicest people I had ever interviewed with. I actually had a friend here who I worked with at a previous job who, gave me the inside scoop on joining Lookout. And, even some days when the actual tasking is kind of brutal, the teams are great. We get on calls and we laugh, and we all know each other like family, and we know all about each other. And so it really has become more about the people. The work is important, but it really is about the people as well.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Can you tell us about your journey? We have a lot of folks that I speak to through Day of Security events who are very interested in your field. Can you tell us about how you got started, and then what your journey looked like up until your current role?
Sure. So compliance actually found me, which is interesting. My undergraduate is in social work. And a lot of my passions lie far beyond the pale of what Lookout does. Yoga, meditation, all of the social services things are what I do as my side gigs. And I think that was a big part of my success when I decided to step into technology. And, I stepped into technology at like the dawn of the internet. So I'm going to probably reveal my age. But, I was fortunate enough that I was interested in the people all the time, and I was interested in what they were working on. And through that process, I got to meet the most brilliant folks who were inventing the bits that we use every day now, and was, identified in leadership roles early on. So I come from a strong project management and program management background, and I understand technology. So those are the two things that I was able to marry. And was an administrator. I started off as the administrator for the year 2000, the Y2K program. and
Yeah.
became, technical project manager, technical program manager, product manager. Was in high tech for like 7 or 8 years. Then I moved over into technology and healthcare. So did that whole thing I worked for Blue Cross Massachusetts doing internal implementations. And that was it was a very socially oriented, technically oriented position. And then, did some more product development, landed at Oracle. And when I landed at Oracle, that was actually when I started doing more of the compliance things. So, working in healthcare, it was when, HIPAA and all those regulations started to come out. So as my career has evolved, it has made sense for me to go into compliance, because in order to execute on the programs, you need to understand the compliance regulations. Also part of leadership. So a big part of my role here at Lookout is it's program management. Compliance is a giant program, and it's making sure that, understanding the requirements of what the program needs, understanding what the organization needs from a customer perspective as well, and then, just implementing all of those things. I mean, we have a huge roadmap, we have big checklists, and it's really making sure that, I don't create the security position, but I make sure that the security position happens. So, Grant, who is our security officer, working with him, do we have all the bits configured the right way, and, all those things. So it really did kind of find me. And I think it found me as well, because from a social work background training, understanding the team dynamics, so that when things feel really overwhelming, I can keep the team together and keep the team moving forward, and then be the mouthpiece, right? So when things are frustrating or we need to deliver bad news, I'm also the one who gets to go and do that stuff, which doesn't happen very often.
And I can tell the crowd right now that your meditation classes are incredible. We actually had them at Lookout, and it creates a whole different environment for just slowing down and connecting. And I mean, you said to us, I remember at the very beginning, okay, we're going to breathe. And I'm like, what? Aren't I doing that? And, it was just took a minute to be able to come down.
The concept of consciously breathing.
What do we do with that? I'd like to ask you a question I've never asked you before. When you are interviewing folks, let's say that you're interviewing someone that's more on the entry level side, or someone that has been in their career for a while and has pivoted to your area, what are the couple of the things that you look for, whether they've been in the workforce for 20 years or for 20 minutes? What do you look for in a candidate?
Sure. Honestly, curiosity and likability. Because if someone if they're curious enough and they're likable enough, they get along well with others, you can pretty much maneuver through this environment, doing compliance effectively. It's this a leader that I worked with before, and his formula was education and skill set ×1 times likability ×3 equals what the hireability equation is. So if you know all your stuff, that's great. But if you don't get along well with others, and people don't want to work with you, then it's going to be a no-go. So if folks come in with a positive attitude and they're willing to learn, it will get you the job, with me anyway, all day long.
Yeah. And I would work for you any day. Although I have an amazing boss, Missy, I would work for you any day. So that's a very difficult thing to learn, to understand, to put into context, which is likability. And one thing that I can say is that everyone defines it differently. And I think one of the most important things in a work environment is to ask other people, how do I show up? Right? What do you experience? What do you learn? What are your insights into areas that I can go up an octave or down an octave? But asking the question about, to someone else, how do I show up, is really, really important. And that's hard to do, to be vulnerable and ask questions. Would you agree?
Yeah. The person, Eileen, who's been working with us for almost a year now, she was so enthusiastic and friendly and at ease with herself. And she was just finishing up a master's degree, and that was good, but I really enjoyed her company. And so, and I haven't met her in person yet. She lives in California. I live here on the East Coast. And we have a great relationship, and it's a big thing. And yeah, knowing how you show up for work every day, and also being yourself. So interviewing, just be yourself, right? If you're nervous, say you're nervous. I would rather have somebody come to me and say, I'm really nervous. I'm really looking forward to this, and that gives me the opportunity to say, okay, let's just calm down, take a breath.
Yeah.
And, let's just have a dialogue.
Yeah.
And the interview process has changed so much over the past 10 years, right? It's no longer this like hunt and pack and guess that you have the right answer. It's really people wanting to get to know each other.
That's exactly right. And, put on another layer of complexity of remote working. Look at us really proud to say that we want to create an environment where people show up in their best way and create an environment where they can be productive inside of work, but we all know family is more important, right? To be honest, whatever that support system may look like for you. So we do support remote work, and it takes a little bit more effort. Like you're mentioning, your employees on another coast, checking in, having just a few more touch points. Would you agree is really, really important in order to get a temperature of how people are doing?
Yes. And I would take that one step further is I like that in the work at home environment, people can take care of themselves. They can take care of their family. So when they do show up, they don't feel like they are sacrificing as much as we used to feel like we were sacrificing when you didn't see anybody 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that, having a healthier, more focused brain because you're not stressed out about everything else in your life helped you be more performant in your role. And then when you step away from your role, you can be more performant in your personal life. So, it is a finer balance now.
It is so true. There's this old saying where people may come for the brand or for the logo of the company, but they stay for the boss and the environment that they're in. And I really believe that. I really believe that, everyone, regardless of gender identity, juggles so much, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And just figuring out how to build that relationships internally, right? How to build the relationships with your boss and your coworker so that there's a trust. One of my wisest mentors once said to me, the most important thing you can do in a company is to build your brand. And if, for example, you have a good brand and I don't show up for a meeting, someone might say, oh, what's wrong with Brenly? She didn't show up. If I had a bad brand, they would say, that's just like Brenly. She didn't show up, right? Exactly. And so as you look, for those of you looking for an opportunity or currently in your career, as you, look about how you manage your brand, which I think is really important. If you're not sure about what those optics are, just ask, right? Especially, if you're in as complicated of a role as you are, Kimberly, and working with so many. Would you agree to that?
I do, yeah. And the other part you touched on, which is show up as yourself. Yeah. And if you find a company and you don't feel like you can show up as yourself, it's not the right company for you.
Yeah.
I worked in multicultural, diverse environments, and there were situations where the leadership wasn't necessarily the right leader for the environment. And as soon as that person stepped aside and people could flourish and be who they were, so much more got done. Because people walk down the hallway and have a conversation and talk about their weekend and wear the clothes they wanted to wear and didn't have to feel like they had a shield up. That's really important to me is that, and that's why I work here, is because people don't have to pretend they're not somebody who they are not, right? It's just, it makes it so much better.
It's so true. And, once again, I always bow to you in your ability to handle really complex groups, really diverse groups, right? You serve at the pleasure of many different individuals coming at you all at the same time. Your organizational skills are unbelievable, right? I want you to come over and arrange my home. Your ability just to migrate up and down the organization and work with so many different types of people. I think the diversity of the type of work that you do really lends itself to those type of characteristics.
Yeah, and it's fun. I love that. I love dealing with different dynamics and different people and different situations, and being able to. I love when I walk into. This is going to sound bizarre. I love when I walk into a situation that is tense and people feel stuck, and I can help unwind that and have the meeting, and whether it's in person or not,
Yeah.
having some solution or resolution or plan forward. That's
Yeah.
that's always my goal, is to make sure that we can keep things moving forward in a positive way.
Oh, fantastic. Talk about positive. Are you ready? Thank you so much for what you shared with us today, but I'm going to announce some winners of some AirPods. Yes, you're here for it, right? We bring joy. But Kimberly, thank you. Thank you for always being willing to share, being so authentic, and helping folks along the way. And if you guys want to get in touch with Kimberly, please connect with her on LinkedIn or reach out to any one of us. Okay, the winners. For the first round of AirPods, it goes to, and please forgive my pronunciation if I have it incorrect, goes to Myra. Myra, congratulations. And Myra, we are going to have an individual from my team reach out to you to get additional details. And it's Myra, here it comes, Perseni. I hope I had that right. Congratulations, Myra. Second winner, we ready? Second winner is Kimberly Snow. I'm kidding, it's not you, Kimberly, sorry.
No, it's not.
The second winner is Natalie Ladra. Natalie Ladra, congratulations. Wait, look at Myra. Ooh, congratulations, Natalie and Myra. We are so excited to offer you a couple of sets of AirPods, and members of my team will reach out and get your information so we ship them your direction. So congratulations. Again, we will be raffling off yet another set. My team doesn't know that I'm offering another set, but I'm going to. Be present at the end of our session to win. Please fill out additional forms. You can find them at the bottom of the screen, and we'll have a drawing at the top of the hour. So Kimberly, thank you so much.
Thank you, it's been my pleasure.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Bye-bye. Bye.
And remember, if you do have any questions for any of our speakers, please feel free to put them in the chat. And we would be happy to address them, and any questions whatsoever. Another quick plug, at 1 o'clock, my colleague Jan and my colleague Deidre, we are going to be giving a talk on behind the scenes, what recruiters don't tell you, and how to land your day job. And so oftentimes people just want to know tips and tricks about how to interview, how to write a resume, how to look for a job. What do you do once you get a phone screen? And then what happens when they want to offer you the position? How do you negotiate the best package? Deidre is she's our partner, the founder of CyberSN, which is one of the leading premier agencies in the country. And Jan will be our moderator, who's our executive advisor for the Lookout Foundation, and myself, the head of global recruiting at Lookout. So if there are any questions, I am more than happy to answer them. And I think we have one more individual that will be joining in a moment. All right. So once again, we're going to do another drawing for the AirPods that we'll announce in the next 15 minutes. One of my colleagues is looking to hop in. She's having a little technical difficulty, but she will be here in just a moment. And I am super excited to say that this next individual, she was hired from DoS Security. This stuff works. So, hi Val. I was just giving this big plug. Like, hello. It's fantastic. You're on. So Val, welcome. Thrilled to have you here today. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and any information or insights you could provide would be wonderful. So Val, tell us your name and your title at Lookout and what you do.
My name is Val Van Cise, and I am a security intelligence researcher here at Lookout. I am on Christina's team, the threat intel team.
Oh, fantastic. And for those of you that were able to listen to Christina's talk, either within the day in life sessions within the hour or prior, she is one of the most famous researchers in the galaxy, full stop. So tell me, Val, what does your job involve? What do you do on a daily basis?
Well, I look for new malware or interesting changes in known malware campaigns. After I find something of interest, I reverse engineer it to understand what is this code trying to do. I look for network and open source intelligence connections to gain insight into who would want to create this malware. And then I write about what I've found. On my team, our roles are a little unique in that we're both threat hunters and reverse engineers. These are often separate roles at other places.
And tell me about your journey to get to Lookout. Tell me how you got started in the field.
Well, in a past life, I used to teach creative problem solving and effective communication. I knew I wanted to change, but I didn't know what I was gonna, what was that? I didn't know. In the meantime, I needed to sign up for healthcare, and I did that on the healthcare.gov site. It was kind of new at that time. I later read the Electronic Frontier Foundation's article that all of that data, income, age, pregnancy status, more, it was all sent off to 14 different marketers.
Exactly.
And the thing is, nobody would ever fill out a health insurance form with 14 different people standing behind you watching you. No one would ever do that.
Right.
So I still can't understand those choices, but okay. At that time, I felt so betrayed that it was the beginning of me breaking my own computer to understand, like, how is this even a thing?
Yeah.
So from there, I've always been interested in people's, privacy and security, and how do you protect that?
Yeah.
So that's how I got here.
And with your journey, how did you, in addition to breaking your computer, how did you go about learning more about the field and the industry?
That is a good question. So I knew that I didn't know what I needed to know in order to do this work. And so how was I gonna learn those things? And it's a great idea to be in a room full of people that are smarter than you, because then you can learn from them.
Absolutely. It's hard. It's hard to do. You know what I mean? Feel comfortable in that presence, but you're right. You learn a lot.
So I went to local meetup information security groups, and one of the guys there was like, hey, I'm doing this project. It was Give Camp, which is this volunteer project where it's like essentially a weekend hackathon where these nonprofits have applied in advance. And then these developers build them web apps in a weekend to solve whatever they applied for, whatever help they requested.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, something that you build in a weekend is not really that secure all the time. And then my friend, right, exactly what you're thinking, that is what it was. So my friend was like, hey, listen, I'm putting together the security contingent, and we're going to take a look at like how secure these web apps are for the nonprofits that have requested help. And so I was like, well, I don't know how to do that, but will you let me tag along? And he was like, yes. And it was so kind. It was so generous and so kind. And actually everybody was so generous and so kind. And it was a little intimidating, like people mentioned, because it was pretty, like it was mostly men. There's a couple of us women in that circle. Of just local information security folks. But like in my opinion, the group is fantastic. They were very, very welcoming when I was very new and super helpful.
That's great. And now that you have the role with us, what is the hardest part about your job right now?
Well, you need to be able to tolerate ambiguity. Like Christina mentioned, sometimes you don't get the answer. Like you look and you spend a lot of time and effort and energy into figuring out who would do a thing like this. And sometimes like you don't get a name. You get good indicators, you get clues, and you have to say, this is an indicator, this is a clue. But it's not a hard and fast conclusion. And so You have to tolerate
Yeah.
ambiguity.
Yeah, yeah, it's very, very true. And you're right, that is very difficult because we all show up for work wanting to feel purposeful, right? And wanting to feel like we're doing the work that we're asked. And I know
Right.
in your role, it's, patience. It is, this will come in time. Like Christina mentioned, it's putting together the puzzle pieces, right? Which it is hard to do, absolutely hard to do. So advice that you would give to somebody who has just come out of a boot camp, a cybersecurity boot camp, and is interested in breaking in to the field, aside from applying to the posted jobs at Lookout. You can find them at lookout.com/careers and on the Day of Security job posting site. Aside from that, what else would you recommend that new folks do?
I have two pieces of advice. The first piece of advice is go make some friends.
Yeah.
When I first, was in undergrad and my professors were like, go out there and network. And I felt really uncomfortable with that. And today I can articulate that the reason I felt uncomfortable with that was because it felt transactional. So my advice is like, forget that. Just like go make friends. Go make friends
Right.
before you need them. Maybe you never need them, but maybe you do, or maybe they need you.
Yeah.
And the thing with that is they will let you know about job opportunities, maybe even at their own companies.
Mhm.
But also, you want to know if a certain company is not a great employer, and they will also like let you know. Listen, they've got a track record of not being very nice over there.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
You want to know. You want to know
Yes.
those things, and having a network of friends that you can ask things that you're not going to find that from Glassdoor. You're just not. It's not present there. And when you're on the outside looking in and trying to get to know the culture of a company, your friend network is probably going to be the best
For sure.
source that you've got. And my second piece of advice is go do a thing. So go make friends and go do a thing. And that thing.
I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna tell my boss, I'm gonna go do a thing. I don't know what my thing is yet, but I'm gonna do that thing. But yes, that's wonderful.
So that thing, it can be build a thing, it can be break a thing, it can be analyze a thing, but go do a thing. And the reason that you want to do that is you will learn, firstly, whether you like that thing or not. If you don't like it, walk away. It's your free time. Find something that you do like, And also, InfoSec is so big. It's like medicine. There's podiatry, there's neurosurgery, there's psychiatry. It's big. And there's a lot of different areas in InfoSec. And so, some exploration through doing a project is a great way to know. The other reason to start doing projects is because technical interviews are intimidating.
Yes,
and
they
you
are.
have something to talk about.
We make it very comfortable, and you'll love your experience. Shameless plug. So no, I agree with you. And Val, I'm sorry to cut us short. We highly recommend that all of you join us at the main stage, where there's going to be a riveting conversation about landing your dream job, which Val has already done, and how to negotiate a great offer, which Val has already done. So Val, thank you again. And to all of you, we will be back right after our next session on the main stage. So Val, thank you. See you all soon.
See you there.